Good afternoon to Frank Smith. Thank you very much. The CEO of Matchroom joins us again. How are you, Frank?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in Liverpool, head of a big night of boxing tomorrow. Enjoying it. The sun is shining. Getting ready
Is
for
it?
another 5K. So yeah, just getting myself warmed up.
Lovely. The card. There's a few fighters I just want to touch on that card, and it's just about what your intentions are with them should
Hmm.
they come through. Obviously on the weekend. Obviously we've got Peter McGrail. This has been described as sort of like a do or die, not the rematch, but still like a do or die fight for him. Talk to us a little bit about that, Frank.
Yeah, look, Peter McGrail's was a standout amateur fighter we believe in and still believe in. In that fight in December, he obviously took that loss against Jericho Quinn, but um, it doesn't define a fighter a loss. He went in a real fight. He was winning every round, and he switched off. He switched off for a short time in that fight, and it just showed what can happen in this sport. But I still believe, and we as a team believe, he's got a huge future in the sport, and he's going to have big nights in Liverpool for years to come. It's a shame it's not the rematch, but I actually think the Mark Leach fight is a tougher fight for him. He's an awkward fighter, awkward opponent, and I don't think he's going to let that loss define him. It doesn't. Look, he will always have that personal mindset of I want to do the rematch. But I don't think if the rematch isn't there after this for whatever reason, we wish Jericho Quinn all the best. He's got certain issues ongoing. Peter's got to move on with his career. And I think if he gets a good win on Saturday night, like I say, in a hard fight and a big opportunity presents itself, then we got to focus on his career and what's ahead because there's many big nights to come for him.
His younger brother Joel. Joel had a fantastic night out. It must have been, and I think he mentioned it when you guys had the presser yesterday. What it's like for you to win, and then it's almost like your time to sit down. Let's watch my brother now, and then that happens. So Joel, obviously, he's on the card again, putting them together again. That pressure that might be on between the both of them, sort of like we've got to win these fights.
Yeah, 100%. Look, there's always pressure, even as an individual, even when your brother's not fighting. But Joe McGrail, as you said, he boxed on that same undercard in December. We actually hadn't signed him at the time. He was a free agent, so that Peter had asked if he could fight on the show. Obviously, had all the same team out there, and I didn't know much about Joe McGrail at that point, but he put in a brilliant performance, and we signed him straight up after that because he's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of talent. He's ferocious. He's entertaining and exciting to watch, and exactly the type of thing we want to see more of. He's got a big future ahead of him. He's got a good fight on Saturday as well. So excited to get started properly with him on Saturday night.
Yeah, they come out of I think is it the Red Triangle gym in Liverpool with Paul
Yeah,
Stevenson. Really
yeah.
good trainer, so I know that they're both in safe hands. I've spoke to Paul on several occasions, so we wish them both the best. Janae Bostan, then a fight, it was literally it was a tough fight for Janae. Let's just be quite honest about it. A lot of mouthing backwards and forwards between the both of them. So that got you enticed to want to watch the fight. We've seen what Janae has done to his opponents when he's fought over here in the UK. But he had a real tough fight. His cornerman, um, Dalton Smith's dad, Grant Smith, I do beg your pardon, like literally shouting at him, "You're not listening, do this, do that." And now obviously he's got this fight coming up.
Yeah,
What's
look,
going to happen with Junaid?
I think that fight back in December, it was all on the same show as well. We
Yeah,
had a lot of talent out there that night, but I think that fight would have given him a bit of a wake up call in reality as to, you know, because he's young. Junaid's a young guy. He's obviously changed his life. He's a brilliant prospect, a fighter we believe is going to go very far in the sport, but it's all come around very quickly. And I think, you can do the boxing side of it, you can do the training, but if you're not living correctly, if you're not putting everything into it, I'm not saying he wasn't. I just think there was things he could improve. And I think you've seen that, especially at the weigh-in today. He looks in unbelievable shape. I think he's changed his mindset and, the way he lives. Sleep's important. Not, he's a young kid and he's got to learn and develop. But I think that fight in America sets him up for where he wants to go. He doesn't want to move slowly. He's in his first 10 rounder against Jack Martin, and it's a real fight. First title fight for Junaid. And we believe he can go all the way. But there's no point sticking these fighters in fights that are just walkovers Don't teach them anything. Don't put them through those hard work, because it's never going to set them up for the future of where we believe they can get to. And Jade is one of those that we definitely have a lot of faith in to go very far. After this, I've said a few times, later this year, headline the Next Gen show. That's got to be the plan for him. So excited for what's to come with Jade. I think you're going to see a career best performance for him. But as we saw at the weigh-in today, Jack Martin's not come here just to lie down and take a loss. This means everything to him. He can change his life as well with a win here. So exciting fight and a perfect Next Gen title fight.
Yeah, that's like the carrot for Janae, to know that, he can be headlining a card. I like to see the Next Gen card, because obviously it's the talent coming forward. But what I really do like to see, and you do this quite a bit, is you'll put fighters on from like the same gyms. Like, we've had Young Smith on the card, with, gosh, what's his name? The one that stopped him the other day. My memory's gone to pot, out of the Steel City gym.
Which
He was
one?
on
Nico Livia's?
Nico Livia's, yeah. You put them on like the same card, so we're getting to see like the gym, and we're getting to know the gym when we're looking at the training. It's like, oh, okay. And I like that, because that's what like the Next Gen card does. It gets us to have a little bit of an eye, sort of like behind the camera, of who's out of the gym. So I think that's something that's really good. But moving on, we've got Beatrice Ferreira. I do like her opponent. Her opponent's not someone that's going to come and sit down either. Fighting for one of Katie Taylor's vacated belts, I believe.
Yeah, the IBF belt, and Bia's a superstar. She's got literally superstar written all over her. She's a big name in Brazil already, huge following. She's been involved with some massive brand stuff out in Brazil. So we want to build her for the long term, and we'll definitely be headlining her in shows over there in sometime very soon. But this opportunity came along for her to challenge for the world title, obviously with Katie vacating some of those belts. A brilliant fight, as you say, a tough fight. But as I said in the presser yesterday, I think Bia's, and this is a fact that I've made up, but I believe it's a fact. So we're just going to say it's a fact.
That you manifesting?
Yeah, well, we're just going to. Well, no, it's got to happen first. But I'm just saying this is a fact, that she'll be the first reigning world champion to go in and win an Olympic gold medal as well.
Yes.
Goes to Paris this summer. So, IBF World Championship this Saturday, July in Paris, goes and wins the gold medal, comes back from there, huge unifications to be made. Hopefully they don't order a purse bid for the Caroline Dubois fight, because she'll get pulled out of it, I'm sure. But no, some big nights to come. Don't laugh. It was only a joke. That wasn't Caroline Dubois who'll pull out of it, by the way. It was someone else will pull out of it.
Yes. And I'm gonna try not to laugh, because I know my NVCs are horrific. But that is a fight. To be fair, Caroline Dubois versus Beatrice Ferreira is a beautiful fight. Caroline comes to fight. She's a talent as well. And I really do like that fight. But a fight for the future, we'll see. But pushing these girls where there's not that much in the pool, getting these world opportunities will come a lot sooner. So it's kind of like, those are the names. As Caroline's going to have her name. You saw Beatrice smile when Caroline Dubois' name was mentioned. Before it was obviously translated for the full sentence, she heard the name and her face lit up like, yeah, that's what I want. You could see that from her.
Look, it's great times as well. Rhiannon Dixon won the world title, one of the other vacated belts, a few weeks ago.
Good fight that was.
So it's exciting times, and lots of new talent coming through, which we've got a bit excited about.
Frank, I'm going to move on to the Riyadh season in the US. Congratulations for doing the partnership work in Matchroom with Riyadh, Queensbury, Gold Star, the collaboration, as it were, of the boxing giants. Talk to us about that card, because I'll tell you one thing. Jarrell Miller was a fighter that obviously, he went through the alphabet with the banned substances when he was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua. But I think Eddie was quite adamant that I'm not going to work with him. But I get it. It's down to Turki Al Sheikh, but he's still like under the Matchroom umbrella. So working with him, it's happened. And he's going up against Andy Ruiz. A bit of a triangle there. But yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, firstly, as you say, just mentioning another amazing Riyadh season show, bringing together all of these different people, all of these different promoters, and taking away the politics from the sport and just making the best fights happen and the best shows happen, which naturally is only good for everyone involved in the sport of boxing, whatever way you were involved, whether you promote, manage, media, whatever it, is good for the sport. And His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, Sela, Riyadh season, Dr. Akan, they have a huge passion for the sport, and it's only going to keep building and building. And these nights, taking a big event to LA as well, it's going to be special. And yeah, boxing's one of those sports. But we all do so many interviews where a lot of things are said. I've said a lot of things about different things, and over time, your opinion changes or the situation changes. And that was, what was that, 5 years ago now? 2019?
Yeah,
Yeah. 2019, nearly 5 years ago. And the world changes. Times evolve, things change, and we've all said things. Everyone has said things in an interview, and you could look back and go 3 years later, well, you said this here. I'm sure there's things, if enough people watch my interviews, I'm sure you'd pick up on things, but maybe I haven't got enough fans out there, which I'm quite
Well,
lucky.
I'm going to try and watch 100 of your interviews over the weekend.
Well, you poor thing, if you have to watch 100 of my monotone interviews and count.
Well, obviously, if I'm doing that, I like you a lot, so.
No, I think, look, yeah, the situation changes. But I think it's a great fight, Andy Ruiz against Jarrell Miller. I think Jarrell Miller against Dwyer was a great fight. Daniel Dwyer had to really bite down to get through that fight and get that win. And, I'm sure gained a lot of people's respect that night, because it was a real tough night for him in there. But, Andy Ruiz had a long time out of the ring. I think it's been 2 years since he fought against Luis Ortiz, was it? No, sorry. It wasn't.
It's longer than that.
Probably, yeah. It was Luis Ortiz, I think, a few years back now. He looks in great shape, though, Andy Ruiz. I like him a lot. We work with him, obviously, on many occasions, and his promotional team. And I'm sure they'll be excited that this fight's happening. But just good to see a load of people coming together to put on a great night of boxing, and credit to Riyadh season for an amazing show they're putting on.
Yeah, before I get to the main card, hold on, I've got to satisfy my curiosity now.
I have a feeling it was
right. Yeah, 2022, Luis Ortiz, spot on.
Well, every now and then I things out my head.
Well, funnily enough, that's the reason why you're a boxing promoter and I'm merely media doing Zoom conversations. Anyway, swiftly moving on.
More about boxing than me, don't you worry about that.
That's it. I've got to ask before we go on to the main bit, because there was a couple of comments in the live feed that, one for a better word, gripped me a little bit. But before I move on to the headline, talk to me about Morrell Jr., because I know he's not a matchroom fighter, but I know he's very close with Andy Cruz, who is. Morrell Jr. has obviously taken, the leap, and he fought as an amateur as a light heavyweight. He's now taken this as a professional. I'm excited about this fighter. He's a fighter that I've watched along with, Ben Whittaker, just to name the two. Those two, I see them fighting in the future. He's got a very challenging fight ahead of him. I do appreciate that. But is he on your radar?
He's got a promotional deal. I think he's with, I think, TGB, possibly. I think, he's a tremendous fighter, obviously. He's 175, fighting Hot Rod in a real fight. That is going to be a real fight between those two. A tough test. But Morrell's a brilliant fighter. And, Andy Cruz, our man, he's on another level. He's tremendous, and excited about what's to come for Andy Cruz. I'm so happy he's getting a platform as well, like this in LA. It's going to be a massive night for him. So yeah, excited for that fight, because it's a real fight, and stepping up to light heavyweight. A lot of people didn't want to fight him. A lot of people have shied away from fighting him. So
he's chasing Benavidez, I think.
Yeah, just one of the many great fights on that card.
Yeah, I've got to move to the main event now. I am a massive fan of Israel Madrimov, always have been. I like the way that he boxes. I like his training. The list goes on. He's having that opportunity, Terence Crawford coming up to 154 to make 3 weights. That's what he wants. He wants to unify. He wants to be undisputed, 3 weight divisions. Fantastic. People were saying in the live feed, and it was like, Crawford's fighting some random Uzbek dude, like, who is he? and things like that are frustrating because it's like Israel, because he's obviously, he's not well known all over the place. It's like there's just no knowledge around him. And how are you going to work to like really put the promo out there so we can get to know who Israel Madrimov is?
Yeah, look, Israel's a tremendous fighter. I always think it's difficult when the fighters speak less English as well to build them in that American market. But he's a brilliant fighter who we've worked with for a long time, and I think you have to pay a lot of respect to him as well because he's jumping straight in
Yeah,
against
after 10 fights.
pound for pound, what many people believe pound for pound number one right now in the sport. And Israel's had 10 fights there, like you say. And although a great amateur career, you could have easily said, go and have a few defenses, have a fight in Uzbekistan like we were looking to do. But he wants to challenge himself and test himself. And I do think as well, looking at, with Terence Crawford, where he's like the weights he's come up from to where he is now, at some point in any fighter's career, it gets a bit much, you know.
Okay.
But Terence, I think, is a fighter who wants to be great. He wants to go up another weight division, look to become undisputed again. I saw him talking about it in the press conference. And he thinks 2 or 3 fights away, become undisputed. Does he move up again? Maybe it's 160, it becomes tough. Maybe it's 168. But I actually think it's going to be a real tough fight. And I think, people are going to be in for a surprise on August 3rd. Don't get me wrong, Israel's got a very tough test ahead of him.
100%.
Proper fight, and one that we're very excited for. And I think if we didn't believe in Israel Madrimov, he wouldn't be taking this fight. He wouldn't take this fight if he didn't have a feeling. It's a hard test. It's the hardest test out there in the sport, going in against someone of this caliber and level. But we believe he can give himself a great account, and we believe he can get the win in there.
We're looking forward to it. That is a really good card. And I know that you're putting on, I think, another couple of fighters from Matchroom and allegedly a prospect from Queensbury. So I look forward to those announcements. While we're over in America, it would be rude if I didn't bring up the fact of Oscar De La Hoya in the comments of Eddie Hearn, in the comments of, I think, Devin Haney as well, basically saying you're not welcome here. You concentrate on the UK and leave us US guys to do what we're doing. But then in the last few minutes, I've seen that His Excellency has put out shared a DM private message where Oscar De La Hoya is thanking His Excellency for obviously the work that he's doing out in America. So it would seem it's not a matter of fact of where you're from. It's in fact just Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, look, it's not the first time Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya haven't had the best relationship. It won't be the last, I'm sure. But look, it doesn't stop us from doing business. If business makes sense, we deal with a lot of people within Oscar's team and do good business and have made things happen. But I don't get it. One day he's all right with Eddie, the next day he's not.
They've sat down, Frank. They've sat down together on a round table
multiple times, and it's one of those things. I think we're focusing on our business. We're focusing on the growth of the sport. We're in an amazing place in the US right now. Just look at the last few weeks, signing Jaron Ennis, probably one of the best active fighters about, and everyone wanted his signature. Before that, Subriel Matias as well.
Yeah.
Jesse Rodriguez is fighting on June 29th against Juan Francisco Estrada. It's going to be packed out in there. Like, we're focusing on doing great things in the US. We obviously share a broadcast partner in DAZN as well. So we have an aligned vision of what we need to do. But yeah, it's one of those things. You can't read too much into it.
Yeah, fair enough. And finally, I've got to ask, because I saw Ben Whittaker was out in the States. I'm a huge fan of Ben Whittaker, absolute awesome guy, so much potential. And I was like, oh, so Ben Whittaker and Ben Shalom's in New York. Obviously Eddie Hearn's in New York, Riyadh season. So me, my mind flew off with me, and me thinking of this collaborative work again, I was expecting to possibly hear that some conversations had happened and maybe you guys were, you're going to start working together. Nothing came out in the open, but to satisfy my curiosity, Frank, did that happen? And are we going to start to see that collaborative work between the two of you? I'm trying to be positive because I'm sick and tired of seeing, Frank Glass, Shalom, or Shalom. I'm not interested in that. Are we going to see collaborations or not?
It depends if it makes sense for our fighters. If it makes sense for the fighters we represent, we'll work with whoever. We've just done it. Look at Katie Taylor recently. You know, like
Yeah, that was a shocker for me. But
we want to do what's best for the boxers we represent. And you know that's our job. At the same time, we have to deliver for our broadcast partner, as everyone does. You know, I think Ben Whittaker's got one fight left under his contract. So
has
you know,
he?
I believe so. Many people have said so. I think he'll have every man and his dog after Ben Whittaker. You know, he's a tremendous talent. Look at his following. Look what he's built.
Yeah.
You know, so he's in a great place, Ben Whittaker. You know, in a brilliant place, and he's got an exciting few years ahead of him.
I actually thought, I'm sorry, because I've just listened to a conversation, and credit to Umar of Box Nation, absolutely fantastic interview we did with Ben Shalom. And I'm sure Ben Shalom says that he's got a long-term deal with him. So maybe not the one fight left that we were initially speaking about.
I might be wrong. That's what multiple people have told me, but I might be wrong.
Interesting.
It won't be the first time I've been wrong. It won't be the last. So I'm happy to put my hands up when I'm wrong.
When can we expect the next half schedule and Riyadh season in Wembley? I'm getting selfish now. I'm thinking about something local.
Yeah, look, I know there's lots of conversations about Riyadh season in Wembley. They've shown that they're willing to take shows abroad now with the LA announcement, and hopefully we get one in the UK at Wembley, as you say. It'll be amazing to see, and just like they've done in the US, I think it'll be one of the best cards we've ever seen, judging by what they've delivered time and time again now. When it comes to the rest of the schedule, we're working through it now. Lots going on, lots of dates. We've never had so much boxing. Boxing's in a great. Big fights are being delivered, and you know we got to make sure we keep fighters active and keep building the sport. And you know we're in a brilliant place, and hopefully some news soon about those next 3, 4, 5 months.
We love it. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure as always speaking to you, Frank. Hopefully we'll catch up in person in a few weeks' time. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the card as I will be, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
Nice to catch up. See you soon.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.